about what about the platform, how the participants can use the platform better, because let people join slowly. So there are few things. This platform is built on top of Zoom, so most of you know Zoom, so you will know the platform. The additional features are that you can see the brief details of all the participants which are there, and if you want, you can schedule meetings with them, both before or after the meeting. You can just quickly schedule meetings with them. You can also check their profile and chat with them. So for example, like I can just click Karthik's profile and chat with Karthik separately. So we can start a chat separately with them during the session. So just to make the session productive, if you guys want to have discussions with people, you can do that. Apart from that, if there's specific questions that you want to ask, so Akash, like Akash, Grish, they have been asking question. So this is where you can ask your question, and all the speakers who are there part of the session, they can answer your question by clicking the reply button, and they can even answer your question after the session is over. So even after the session is over, those who have asked questions, we will be answering them, and you will get an email notification about the answers that the speakers have given. So this answer the speakers can only give.
So just taking it from the last edition that we have done in Bangalore. So there was a large participation, almost 30 of the top corporates were there. And we discussed the various possibilities of how these two words, the corporate and the investor side, can come together, because both of us are working on the same goal, which is startup development. And we were very happy that there was a very active participation from all the corporate leaders there. We had the CXOs there, the corporate innovation team heads, the CEOs. So all of that basically learning is something that we want to share here also. We have few guests from that last session. So we have Mr. Avnish, who is heading the Accenture Ventures. He's MD there, and who is a stalwart in terms of the startup development programs which is happening inside Accenture and outside Accenture also. Like, he is one of the top guiding force. With me, we also have Dr. Apur, who is co-founder of Venture Catalyst and MD of 9 Unicorn Accelerator Fund that we recently launched. So these two gentlemen will talk about these two spheres, the investment side story and the corporate side story. And the whole idea is to kind of like do a very interactive discussion. So me and Rajiv both will be there to moderate this session and to help you guys to share your views, your inputs about how these two words can collaborate. We have few pointers with us, but before we actually like start doing that, I would like to start it from the point where Rajiv can summarize quickly his last 4 years of experience working with various corporates, and some of you are already working with them on various corporate innovation and open innovation programs. So he would like to summarize this and he will set up the foundation of this discussion. Post that, I will basically try to again come back and give you an overview of what we at Venture Catalyst are doing as far as startup development is concerned, and why basically in last 3 years we are consecutively leading the India stage as far as early stage investment is concerned, and how last year 2019, which is a milestone year for us, that we have been figured in the global top 10 list of early stage investors by Crunchbase. So that's kind of basically some kind of validation that we are getting both nationally and internationally. So I will speak about that, and then I leave it to the two gentlemen, the two speakers here, both Dr. Apuru and Mr. Avnish, to share the insight of the last basically discussion that we had, and how corporate leaders on individual basis and through their corporate programs can participate, how we all can work to go towards that one single goal, which is connect, co-create, and co-invest, which is the theme of this discussion also. So over to Rajiv to set up this foundation of this discussion and share the last 4 years of learning working with various corporates.
Okay, so great. So I'll just give you a quick brief about our journey at Incubator Hub. So we are an open innovation company. We drive open innovation programs and corporate accelerator programs for almost 52 companies in India, mostly MNCs, GICs who are there in India, who have set up their open innovation programs in India. So what we have seen is that when a corporate plans to engage with the startup, it starts with connect, what we call more of use case discovery phase, where they want to connect with the startup. So initially, we see that the companies do some startup showcase, they do some startup roadshow. They also do programs to discover what kind of use cases they want to work on. So that's the connect phase. So once the connect phase is over and the corporate is more confident to engage with the startup ecosystem, they know what are the capabilities of the startup ecosystem in India, and they have also finalized what kind of use cases and problem statements they can work with the startup. Then they begin the journey of co-creation. And in the co-creation process, it starts with developing proof of concept. So you have a use case, they shortlist few startups, do a proof of concept with them. If the proof of concept is successful, then it can go to production. It can be co-developed with the internal teams, the business teams, the technical teams of the company. There's also an option. A lot of companies, mainly IT services companies and other corporates, they also join go-to-market to their clients by creating a proof of concept. So that's a co-creation phase where we see that a lot of companies in India are working on the co-create phase. They have moved from connect to co-create phase. And then slowly few companies are moving towards co-investment. So they're looking at minority investments in startups where there is strategic value. So when they see that there is a strategic value to work with startups, then they do a minority investment. They enable them to go global. So they take the startups globally. And even what we are seeing is that the trend of mergers and acquisitions are also kind of picking up in India, where they're looking at acquiring startup IPs. The other trend that we see, and more so now with the current situation of COVID situation, we are getting a lot of interest from companies about acqui-hires. Now, acqui-hires is a way to kind of build capacity in emerging technologies, or in skills that the company doesn't have the right capacity. Then they acqui-hire startups to build capacity. So that's also a trend that we are seeing currently, more so because a lot of startups who are currently in a stage where they are not able to market their product. They might have a very great team, they might have a good product, but they are not able to market their product, and they look for a bigger guy to acquire them and take them to market. So that's another trend that we're seeing. That's a quick snapshot. The another industry trend that is pretty prevalent from an open innovation perspective is IP is moving from all internal, which is R&D based innovation, to collaborative innovation. So, and you can see this graph where you're seeing that collaborative innovations, collaborative network is becoming pretty popular, and this is a projection by 2025. There will be a lot of externalized IP which the company will own and take products to market. So that's a trend that we see very prominent today. So from a corporate venturing perspective, which is the topic of today, moving from corporate open innovation and to corporate venturing, we see that from a corporate perspective, they're setting up they have their R&D labs, They have their digital labs. They're also setting up their corporate accelerators, and then they're looking at partnerships with startups. So it's an integrated approach. So that's something that we are seeing. That's an integrated approach towards corporate innovation and corporate venturing. And it's a good sign from the Indian ecosystem perspective. From a focus area perspective, in the last 5 years, we have worked on more than 920 use cases, and we have done proof of concept across this industry, across industry, domain, technology, and we have also helped few corporates with acqui-hire in few of the skill set that is mentioned in the fourth column. So that's a pretty quick snapshot of what we see as a corporate open innovation partner with the companies that are working on. This is a quick snapshot of Incubator Hub, what we bring to the table. So we have more than 11,800 plus startups who are in our platform. We have more than 144,000 students. And currently we are running around 224 open innovation use cases. Even today, in the current month, we are running 6 programs for 6 corporates right now. We have done more than, as I said, 919 plus proof of concept, which has moved to long-term contracts with startups, and 6 acquisitions and investment has happened through the programs that we have run. So that's a pretty quick snapshot. And we see that open innovation today is moving towards early stage investing. A lot of corporates are wanting to do minority investments in startups, do matching fund, and that's where we're seeing the trend both in India and globally. We partnered. We have Venture Catalyst have a strategic investment in Incubator Hub, and with Incubator Hub and Venture Catalyst together, and along with the corporate partners, the whole idea is to bring this opportunity of open innovation to engage with startups and co-invest in startups with Venture Catalyst and the 9 Unicorn Fund that has been created. So that's where we see today. So that's a pretty short snapshot of what I had to present. And over to you, Neeraj, to take it forward.
So, guys, just quickly giving you a foundation of what Venture Catalyst is doing, and from there onwards, Dr. Apoor will be there to specifically talk about the various models that we have worked out with corporate CXOs and how we are collaborating. So, Venture Catalyst, apart from all the other credits that we have been given by the industry, this is what we really take pride on, that we have been able to create this community in tier 2, tier 3 cities. And in last 3.5 years, the impact is really something that I want to share with you. Next slide, please. Okay. So this is what I was talking to, that in last year, 2019, across all the incubators, accelerators, all the early stage players across this world, Venture Catalyst has been ranked number 7. So you can see that Y Combinator is leading this list, but we are right there at number 7. And that talks about the validation of the kind of community which is working with us. It's not just us, but people like you, all the SME investors who are working with us from 30 cities that we are present in India, and all the overseas 6 chapters that we have been able to develop now for startups. So it's the 5,000 odd investors community which together have pulled up these numbers. Next slide, please. This also is basically for the first time that any company, any investor platform have been able to make a mark in the top 10 list, global top 10 list. Now this slide talks about basically the deep rooted community that we have, the kind of expanse we have in tier 2, tier 3 cities, which I was talking about. And you can see that we are virtually everywhere, pan-India. And we have a very collaborative model, okay? And that's exactly what we are building on with corporates also. Right now, the model itself is that in each of these small regional geographies, we have few venture partners and managing partners with us who are developing a small ecosystem within these states and within these cities. So in a sense, each one of these community itself is a self-sustainable model where they are incubating the young talents there, and they're bringing those opportunities on the national forum where we co-invest in these businesses. And the local community is a integral part of there. So wherever we are present, so we take all the opportunities, all the shortlisted deals every month back to that community, and from the perspective of that, they can see what value they can jointly co-create and co-invest. So it is not just the local communities only investing as a passively, but they are actually working very closely with these guys. And we have three such startups today to showcase here. We have Incubate, we have Impact Guru, which is a crowdsourcing healthcare success story. We have Flixtree, which is a unique content distribution global success story. We also have a VPhrase, which is again a very big success story within the corporate. So these three gentlemen will give you an idea of how they have set up their businesses with us, and how various small, big investors have partnered with them along with the corporates, and how together in a very collaborative manner we are working. Next slide, please. So in total, if you see, that's a cumulative market cap of the 90 odd startups that we have funded. So, and this is increasing day by day. So 1.7 billion US dollars is basically the cumulative market cap of the portfolio. And the number is basically reaching to almost 100 by this month end. Next slide. So these are the sectors, and you can see basically we are very sector agnostic. Across sectors, we have some very interesting ventures, very interesting startups, some category leaders. Impact Group itself is a category leader, so is Flixtree, and VPhrase. All three of these guys are basically among the best in their category, and they will talk about their business. But you can see that we are across sectors, so there is a lot of opportunities for all kind of corporate to kind of come and integrate with us, no matter from which domain you are and what is your focus area. Next slide. Again, it's the same basically segregation of the startups in various technology sectors. So again, it's the validation of the same sector agnostic approach that we have. Next slide. So this is the sum total summary of the entire portfolio, and this is something very interesting, and Dr. Apur will elaborate more on this, because this is something that he started as a vision with the other three co-founders of Venture Catalyst 4 years back. And this is unprecedented, actually. Nowhere in the world, nobody has this kind of portfolio summary where you can see the two extreme boxes. Out of the 90 startups that we have funded, only one is a write-off company. Okay, rest every company has sustained, they have survived, and they have been able to create a sustainable venture which is profitable, which is giving multiplier to its investors. So you can see the average investor multiplier also is more than 3x. And you can see some of these the big success stories. You can see Bharat Pay, there is Rentamojo, so is Find, Beardo, Innovate. All these are very big success stories today in the startup ecosystem, and they are like every week we are bringing one such story, and the founders are getting next round funding. They are able to launch their products globally. They are pivoting products very fast, especially in last like 3-4 weeks. The situation has actually forced everyone to pivot the program. So some of these startups, and the three startups which are there today in this session, they will also talk about how they have actually created the challenge into a opportunity. I mean, all these three founders can talk about that. But in total, you can see the kind of valuation pyramid that we have already created. Next slide. So that's the kind of valuation pyramid we have created, and you can see right at the bottom of the pyramid. So that's the kind of like companies we have in that valuation bracket, and from there on, so there are companies in such a early early stage. You have companies which is more than say 100 million valuation. So there are already two of them, and there are some more that you can see in the second bracket. And one of them is basically today with us. So Impact Guru can talk about their story. Next one. So that is something that everybody wants to see as an investor, as a corporate, that what is happening basically on the ROI side. Is the platform is capable enough of actually pulling successful stories as far as venture multipliers are concerned. So you can see last year that was again some kind of milestone that venture capitalist has able to achieve. That 30 of our portfolio companies have gone and raised next round of fundings at a very high multiplier. So these are some of the multipliers that you can see, and I can go on and on. I mean, this is like endless list. Next slide, please. So this is in the continuation of the same thing. So you can see these companies raising funds at a multiplier, and that is the kind of like exit opportunities all of our investors have got. Next slide. And next one. You can also see a lot of like investors who are now investing, all these global investors who are investing in our companies. So that's again a validation of the right kind of curation that we are doing on ground. And that is a value that I mean you can monetize once we collaborate with each other. So this is the landscape of the partners who are investing with us. So you can see a lot of corporates there already. You can see some global funds there. They are all basically there with us in our angel round itself. Some people participate in the very angel round, and then in the next round fundings. Next slide. So that's where basically I want to give them the charge to Dr. Apurva, because these are the four possible basically options of how we can collaborate with each other on a both corporate level and on an individual say corporate leader level, where you can value add your experience and you can collaborate with our founders. So the four possible thing is basically one is the 9 unicorn fund that we have recently launched. Some of the corporates have shown interest to work along with us, right from the curation and the deal sourcing side to actually co-investment, where they are parking their fund, some of their budget in the venture fund itself. The second is basically in case you are not immediately ready to commit that kind of money, the next best option is that you can co-invest with each deal that we are picking in the 9 unicorn fund. And the third is on an individual level. A lot of CXOs have shown interest in the third and the fourth option, where they want to mentor, they want to guide these founders, and they also wants to invest their personal say money. Okay, so these are the like four basic models that we have discussed in the last session. In fact, the fourth one was directly coming from the audience, from the corporate side, and we have Avnish with us. I think he will talk more about it. I think it was his idea that why not we have a very focused CXO angel community where corporate leaders can come, they can evaluate, they can work with founders, and in case they really like the founders, then over a period of time they can also start investing in those. So these are the four possibilities that we have with you. At this moment, I want to bring in Dr. Apurva to talk more about these options and see basically how we can work. Dr. Apurva, are you there?
Yeah, Neeraj, I'm there.
Okay, so we will keep flipping the slides for you, Dr. Apurva, and you can just talk. Yeah.
So I have only one request. If you guys can please put on the mute, because I can see at least 5-6 people. Sucheta, Deep, Navyog, all of you are open on the, if you can request, if you can put things on mute. Otherwise, a lot of echo is coming to me. So very quickly, thanks a lot, Neeraj, for organizing this session. In last 4 years, in venture catalyst, whatever we have achieved, it is primarily because of two reasons. We have been able to bring. Are you getting echoes or you getting my voice proper, Neeraj?
There is a lot
Hello.
of echo.
No, this is fine.
नहीं अभी आ रहा है आवाज की
No, आवाज
noise?
आ रहा है. Apurva is fine, yeah.
Okay. So whatever we have achieved, it is primarily because of two factors. Yes, people talk about 90 investments, less than 3% mortality of venture capitalist portfolio. People also talk about a very high multiplier which we are getting. We also talk about that within 4 years, venture capitalist has become world number 4 in accelerator angel network category. We always say there is, in principle, when we were starting venture catalyst, if you look in the combination of even our co-founders also, one come from Stanford MBA strategy mindset, another guy comes from, other two guys come from the family business, and I come from completely from the startup background. So we within the in the DNA of venture catalyst, we have always thought of why not bring venture capital experience of uh, and also the corporate experience together in the time of right from selection, right from investments, every stage that you will see in venture catalyst, we have integrated these elements. Right from selection council, we have a combination of people who come from the corporate background. They are C-level executive. There are in the selection council, we have people who come from who are the former venture capitalists. Then in the selection council, we have people who have built the companies in the past. That was the integrated approach we had taken day one. And that is the reason we are able to see the full 360 view of the startup and take a right decision. Right from selection, right at the time of investment, if you see the people who are investing at venture capital, these are SME owners, they come from corporate background. Most of them come from the corporate background. But these are people when they are integrated with the startup, startups, they collaborate with the startups, right? The exchanges happen and a lot of learning, cross learning happens. And that's the reason when these startups which are getting the support from these corporates or investment from the corporates, they are becoming success. Today is a day when even Reliance, which is one of the biggest company of India, they're the biggest company, Jio. They got money from Facebook, a startup based out Silicon Valley, and they are now valued $60 billion. Yes, we also say Jio is also one of the fastest growing startup, but they come from the corporate background. So the collaboration is happening in India a lot, and that is the genesis of, I'll say, even in the time of Genesis, venture capitalists were very careful. So look at the startups which we have created. I'll talk about one startup definitely, which is a company which come to us from Creative City, Beardo. This was a company from Ahmedabad. They are like they were like Dollar Shaving Club of India. They are into men's grooming space. They were doing very. Hello.
Yeah, one second. See, can you just flip the slides, Rajiv? I think can you come to the next 2-3 slides? Beardo slide is there.
Yeah, there is a case study there towards the end. So
yeah,
Beardo
that's
slide. You see, this company come to us with an idea of starting into the men's grooming space. Men's grooming was FMCG, and at that time, no angel investor group used to invest in FMCG. I said, we don't have any experience of FMCG. How do we invest in this startup? Suddenly, we found someone in our cap table who was also the shareholder in Venture Catalyst. He was running the largest FMCG distribution company of India. Said, you guys understand this? So if you can help this company to the next level. So that the person is invested, Rohit Parikh, thanks to him, and also shared a lot of information how the distribution, because this company was doing online distribution and they were growing almost every month. The revenues were growing by 1.5 times. So they were good in that. And even when Marico came within 6 to 8 months of our investment, they saw this category around 10,000 crore category. And while the female grooming space was around 1 lakh crore at that time, they saw this category as one of the biggest category. And that was a validation, because when Marico came and they said, boss, this is a opportunity where we would like to also do strategic investments. We had 5 term sheets at that time of the venture capital, but we understood that, nobody can understand this FMCG space, especially the men's grooming space, better than Marico. So that's why we went to them. And now you see this is a market leader in India in the men's grooming. Everywhere you go, you find the Beardo products, right? And and the exits, which is now happening now, each one of the investors would be making around 7x money. So this was a a very successful collaboration. And you in venture capitalist portfolio, you will find umpteen number of examples like that. Today we have 3 companies who will talk about it, how they are collaborating with corporates. And so we have taken care of that. We find corporates as well as venture capitalists as well as angel investor very important elements of this growing the startups. Another example I would like to give you, which is not in this presentation, but last when we were in Bangalore, they were there because the company is today today is a day of Reliance actually. So Reliance acquired one of our company called Find. I think Neeraj uska example hoga isme valuation pyramid mein. Find
The
is a
valuation,
company,
yeah.
So
Just go back.
valuation pyramid mein. So Find is a
Yeah,
company
yeah.
which came
Just be
to
there.
us, yeah, it came to us, from one of the venture capitalists. It was a pivoted company from one of the venture capital companies. And we invested, we led the round, and with, then later on, Google invested in this company. This is into retails. They were, sort of democrat. I'll say the local stores. They were empowering the local stores, and they're bringing their inventories up. So they brought it very nice concept guide from Stanford, Howard, and they took it to. So later on, Google invested in them. So last when we were doing this venture summit in Bangalore, he completely shared his experience, what learnings he had when the Google invested in them. But Google is so big, to was, yes, there was investment and there was also a lot of learning, but taking to the next level came only when Reliance invested in them, also took the next level, because now Reliance has given them completely the free hand how to grow this company. And they are just an external investor, while their investors were suspecting whether they will be interfering or not. But now after that, this company is doing very well. But because Reliance has acquired maybe 20 companies, but this was one of the company which they acquired, and now they've given them full free hand to run. So they have a startup in their portfolio now. So the collaboration of Reliance and Google made Find success, and of course investors made around, I think, 5x or something, 4.4, 4.7x or something. But yeah, I mean, these are 2 examples which I would like to talk, largely because the collaboration of for investors came, venture capital came, corporate investors came, and then they made it success. In venture catalyst portfolio, you will find examples like Innovate, where Oyo has acquired it. It was a co-working space company, again a company where they were doing a lot of, because in venture capital we have a lot of people who come from the real estate background, and they have a large real estate company. The company was initially supported by angel investors who have large real estate companies, strategically also building a business model. But later on, it was acquired by a large player, Oyo, which was looking to enter into that space. So we collaborated with corporates. So this marrying of corporate venture capital companies and the angel investors making these companies, and the reason why our mortality is less than 1%, and the reason why our returns are so high. So so this is one message, and also because we are interacting first time with the corporates in Mumbai and Pune region, I think the Western region today this summit is there. So, and of course we have Avnish coming next, who is a great expert. He's working with the startups big way. So I would like to hear him also. So this is one thing which is into the DNA of venture catalyst and 9 Unicorn. So 9 Unicorn is towards the end. I would like to say, if you guys looking to work with the startups closely, we just launched a 9 Unicorn, which is an accelerator fund, which is probably the answer of Y Combinator of India, answer of India to Y Combinator, because this is a next level model of Y Combinator which we have created. where we have a lot of experts who are working as a mentor in different sectors with these startups and even co-investing. And many of them are investing in this fund. So this 9 unicorn is the right time for us to announce in this summit also, because world over, the accelerator funds are, most of the big LPs come from the corporate background, CVCs, most of them. So in India, we want to start the collaboration. We want to bring the largest corporates LP in this company. A lot of corporate already committed investments in this fund. So this is a new practice which we are establishing. Otherwise, most of the funds in India, they've been driven by individuals, money, and So this is an interesting thing coming. You should look at it. And if you want to know more, of course, we can interact later. But yeah, so I think this is an interesting opportunity coming for all of us to close, collaborate, and create transformation in idea stage. 9 unicorn, which is an idea stage accelerator fund, will be the next level of collaboration possibilities with us. Thank you, Neeraj, for giving me the opportunity, and thank you, Rajiv. I'll leave it to you to take the session to the next level.
Okay, thank you so much. So I will quickly invite Avnish to talk about the corporate side of the story, and then we'll open the round for rest of the CXOs also to share their experience working with the different startups, okay, and what they have in their mind and what they are proposing today. So Avnish, over to you.
Thanks, Neeraj. Can you hear and see me? Hello, can you hear and see me?
Yes, we can hear you, but we can't see you. You have to.
You can't see me.
On.
I can see myself. No, I did switch on. I can see myself on the video.
Yeah, now we can hear you. We can see you.
So can you hear and see me both now? Just to confirm.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all
and
right.
we can see you.
And we can get going then. So first of all, can you hear? So first of all, I'd like to wish everybody well who's on the call here. These have been trying and testing times for all of us, and I wish that and hope that you and your families and the near and dear ones have been doing well. And secondly, I'd like to thank the Venture Catalyst team, Dr. Apurva, Neeraj, Anuj, Incubate Hub team as well for all of them to have invited me. I think what Venture Catalyst has achieved in a very short period of time is a real proud thing for all Indians and all people who are associated in the VC industry. We generally don't have too many funds in any stage which are listed in the top 10, to be honest. So that's quite an achievement. I don't have any slides, but I'll discuss what we have been observing and what I'm assuming that in the audience we have both corporates as well as startups. So I'll try to come up with some insights which can be useful for both. So to start, I'll discuss what we have done. So to start with, I think COVID-19, what I call, has been the perfect black swan and has significantly impacted both our lives and work like no other event in history. It almost seems to me that the world is at a reset button. And it may be many quarters before we get to any sort of normal. We in Accenture call it getting into a never normal situation. So it's not a new normal or a new abnormal, it's a never normal. And during this time, as we go ahead, we will see many things. I will see softening of demand. Definitely, I think some of you would have already started seeing that, whether it's a corporate or startup, no exception. There will be a significant disruption to any sort of normal. Disruption and remapping of supply chains as well. And again, this is something which has started happening already. There's a lot of news in terms of what different countries are looking, especially from a manufacturing perspective. And a lot of them may try to redraw their supply chains, especially out of China. Japan has already committed on that. South Korea is thinking on the same lines, and many other countries. Japan is looking into that. Japan was, I already talked about that, but I think regionalization will become the new globalization, and these will obviously create opportunities for both corporates and startups which are based in India. Then there are going to be execution challenges. Definitely, we all have been facing that. And then there will be challenges around the welfare and the morale of employees, again, for both corporates and startups. And finally, obviously, the personal safety and welfare of all the people who are on the call. So with this kind of a context and this sort of a background in which we are operating, what I call during COVID time, we will now look into history as the before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. And we are at the moment right in the middle of what I call during COVID, and trying to prepare ourselves to go to the after COVID time. So I think if you look at what I've just described and the kind of challenges which corporates and startups are facing, Accenture Ventures thinks that this is the right time to deepen the collaboration between the two entities. I think Rajiv talked and gave some examples in terms of how the two entities have been collaborating. But in our view, collaboration, yes, if you look at some of the corporates, they have been pretty serious, but a lot of it has been relating to branding as well. So it's also the FOMO, fear of missing out, that we don't have a corporate accelerator or we're not doing some sort of a POC. We should be doing it. But I think, let's forget about what happened before COVID. What is required now is a much more deeper collaboration between the startup and the corporate and possibly the other ecosystem partners, including the VCs like venture capitalists and others as well, so that real value can start to be created. Because we are in such a difficult time that those kind of gimmicks which we used to do both from the startup and from corporate point of view, they used to work in the post-COVID post-COVID environment, but they're not going to work during COVID and certainly not after COVID. So what we need to do is to, one, solve real problems. Startups are also there not to showcase their technology and how great the product is, which obviously it is. And I know that they're quite fascinated by the kind of technology or platform they have developed. But to keep on talking about that without, maybe right in the first sentence coming to the context of what business problem they are solving. And in this, we are talking about solving a problem which is akin to giving a painkiller or a vaccine and not a vitamin. So talking about that my solution is going to give you this kind of a growth over the next, whatever months or years, nobody is going to listen to that. What they're going to listen to is what kind of pain you are going to solve to me today, right? So for example, if you have some solution which is helping them remodel their supply chain, or you have a solution which is helping the workforce of a corporate to become more liquid or elastic. These are just two examples. There are many more, but that's the kind of thing which the corporate is now waiting to hear. Another one example is, number of physical stores, physical retailers have been caught completely off guard, and they overnight want to now turn into some sort of an e-commerce or a digital kind of an entity. So if you have a solution which can help do that, that is what they are looking for. So to cut this long story short, what I'm saying is that the corporate and the startup need to collaborate on real business problems which can be solved for the end client today. Now, the reason why the two need to collaborate is that the startup is going to struggle in this environment to do sales origination. When they can't travel, they are obviously not in a position like a big corporate would be to just call up the client, especially if it is not an Indian client, then it's even more difficult. So sales origination is definitely going to be an issue for some time. But the corporate doesn't have that kind of an issue in terms of outreaching to the client, right? So they need to piggyback on the corporate and say, okay, well, we have been partners, and this is a time when I am having problems in terms of sales origination. But can I work with a bigger partner who obviously has much deeper connects and ongoing projects where some of these startups can be taken as an upsell or a cross-sell? So that's from the startup perspective. Now, from a corporate perspective, also, it's not that they are having a great time. In fact, they are not having a great time at all. And what they are also looking for is a supreme kind of agility, right? So the client is looking for solutions today and now, today and now. And a lot of corporates are long-known hierarchies, right? And they do take time to pivot to this kind of agile first model. So they're going to take time, but the client is not willing to wait. The client needs. Sorry, can people go on mute? Thank you. So the client is not ready to wait. The client, because the end customer is not ready to wait, right? So the corporate is saying, okay, well, we need to gear up with these kind of offerings and solutions almost overnight. And no big corporate can move that fast. Let me tell you that, including Accenture. So this is the time where the startup, because of their agility and their cost competitiveness, can be a very good partner for the big corporate looking for point solutions, which can be easily and seamlessly integrated into the overall value proposition of the corporate which they are trying to take. So in both ways, right? The startup is looking for the corporate for sales origination, and the corporate is looking for disruptive, agile, and easy to plug solutions in the new categories which are emerging during COVID and post-COVID. Just to make this whole thing,
Avnish, your voice is breaking. Your voice is breaking.
Well, I haven't done anything.
Maybe because your video is on or something.
Can I switch the video?
We can try that.
Okay.
Please go ahead now.
I've switched off the video. Is it better?
Yes, it is better now.
All right. So I hope some of it, what I said earlier, was hearable. Otherwise, I'll have to repeat the whole thing. But anyway, I'll go from where I am at the moment. So what I was saying is that both corporates and startups need each other more now than ever. And as I said, the corporates are trying to come up with new propositions to take. We have been working tirelessly for the last 3-4 weeks now since this whole thing. Just to do two things. One, we have curated some very, very good startups which are in the medical space, right? So things around how do you contain, for example, COVID, right? How do you do diagnostics? How do you do therapeutics? Beautiful startups which have pivoted and are making ventilators. They are making PPEs. So Accenture, with our connections in the government, I am myself part of the NASSCOM Technology Task Force, which has been given the duty to work with startups and the entire technology community of India to come up with solutions. And we are working, for example, I'm involved to come up with new applications and new microservices which can integrate, for example, with the Arogya Setu app. And also building the entire backend for the entire the Arogya Setu app, so that the data which is captured goes into a cloud, analytics is done, it's converted into some sort of a dashboard, and then that goes into a government command center through which actions can then be taken at a state level or a district level or even a ward level. Now, who's going to do that, right? So yes, we have the top 30 companies from a technology perspective working on this, but there are a lot of startups which are helping us do that as well. And you have heard many stories. There are startups which are drone-based startups using computer vision to look into, completely looking at areas which are infested and how they are locked down. So people are, state governments have been using drone-based technology to do that. Robotic startups, one of them presented last time also in the Venture Catalyst pitch, but those kind of startups which could be, for example, have been built for a hotel or for a restaurant now can pivot to a hospital, and many Indian hospitals have started using robots to take food and medicines to the clients, to the patients who are suffering from COVID, so that there is no contact. So robotic startups, computer vision startups, AI startups, machine learning startups, which are being used by biotech companies, for example, to do the sequencing of the genome and try to find a vaccine. All these are presenting opportunity. And Accenture Venture has been trying to connect the opportunity with the right startup. It's not that we are always successful. I will be the first one to admit we are not. But we are trying, and we have had few good successes as well. But that's what the corporate partner can do, for the startup. Now that's on the medical side, but on the business side as well, Accenture has overnight come up with new value propositions, and some of them I was discussing earlier, right? So for example, elastic digital workplace. We think there's going to be a huge surge in this kind of an offering for all the clients who are, who've been overnight forced to get from work to work from home. And if big outsourcing companies, you can't even take a pencil out from a delivery center. If some of you have been to a delivery center or belong there, that's the kind of data secrecy which we are talking about. But now everything is working from home. So how do you come up with the environment to do that? It's like almost we have been asked by one of our clients to say, well, can Accenture come up with this idea of an office in a box? What should be the design of an office in a box, and what should be the security and data privacy guidelines for that? So that's a huge opportunity which I was discussing earlier. Supply chain resilience is going to be really, really big. So things around supply chain remodeling, supply chain resilience, e-procurement will be big. Human resilience as well. In Accenture, we have worked with one of our startups to come up, and we have procured actually thousands of licenses from the startup. This startup is in the AI wellness thing. They have an app which, if you go into, it's basically helping you reduce your mental anxiety. Today in the world, with both the health problems and fear of your life and fear of your job, anxiety levels have gone out of the roof. So how do you manage to anxiety levels have gone? In India, Accenture has 200,000 people, 200,000 employees. So how do you cater to such kind of a scale? So we have a startup which is helping us do that, and it's a fantastic startup which is now getting scaled not only in India in Accenture with 200,000 people, but in other parts of the world where Accenture is operating as well. So again, a huge surge of demand for this particular kind of startup, with which we have been able to connect them this time, not with their client, not with our client, but with Accenture as the client, right? Now you look into responsive customer service. That's another big one, where we think there's going to be a big demand. And this is what I was saying earlier. The customer have not changed, but the demand has changed. And if it is a brick and mortar physical world customer, they require a lot of digital infrastructure and digital solutions to go almost overnight online. So that's an opportunity as well. A digital commerce I talked about, social commerce, digital commerce is going to be big. And then systems resilience is going to be huge as well, along with cyber security. So if you are in the cyber security space and you're looking into data and other things, infrastructure security, application security, this is going to be big as well. So what you can see here is that just over the last couple of weeks, and it's a work in progress which we are doing day in and day out, but almost overnight we have come up with 10 new offerings which are completely aligned to the requirements of a during COVID and a post-COVID world. And if you can align, the startup can align that with the corporate, then as I said, there is a win-win situation for the startup to get business, for the corporate, as they are developing these things, they don't have to develop everything on their own, on some of the startup technology to go to the market fast. And it's a win-win for the end consumer or the end client as well, so that they get best of the corporate as well as of the startup. So that is what I was talking about, when I was saying that this is probably the best time to deepen some of those relationships and engagement models which may have been superstitious and based on the fear of missing out in the post-COVID world, but they need to be made real now, and they need to be focused on value creation. Now the other point here is that this is the go-to market. Now I'll also try to talk a little bit about the funding part as well. So the startup is definitely going to be looking at funding as well. I hope some of the startups, have a 12-month kind of bandwidth as well before they are thinking of raising the fund. But that may not be the luxury of many of the startups. And if you look at the VCs, venture capitalist obviously is in a different league. They are still looking very openly to new startups as well, and they keep on asking me for a pipeline. And I'm really thrilled that at least there are some VCs which are still much open to consider new startups. But a lot of other VCs, their first focus is their portfolio companies, and you can't really blame them for that. They are looking at, okay, well, I think about making, if I had to make an investment, 10 new investments, I'm only make 2, because a lot of time and money is actually going to go and make sure that my portfolio is survive. So that is a fact, right? As I said, not every VC is going to be like venture capitalist, or there will be a few others like that, but not many. So in that kind of a scenario, if you're looking for fund, then again the corporate becomes a key thing here, because most of the corporates also have a corporate venture capital arm, right? Now, some of them will be the same one which you interact for go-to-market, like for example in Accenture, we do both the go-to-market and the CVC as well as the the investments and acquisitions. But some of the corporates, they may not, but they still will have a CVC arm or some sort of an arm through which they are making investment. Let me tell you that, and I talk a little more focused on B2B because that's where I come from, especially deep tech. A lot of Indian startups have opened their purse and are making significant investments in B2B deep tech startups. Companies like, for example, vPhrase, and I hope Nirav is going to do a great job after I finish in presenting his startup. But those are the kind of startups corporates are investing. So they are investing because they want to get into new products. These could be, for example, somebody investing in a electric vehicle kind of a startup to get into the EV space very quickly, or somebody wants to invest in an IoT startup. This could be, for example, to go from a product company to a right. So the business model change. So rather than serving or living as a service, and then for that you need the entire IoT infrastructure, and you can't build that, so you want to invest in an IoT startup. The third one I was saying about expanding your channel. So if you are a physical startup, you want to get into e-commerce, so you want to work with or invest in an e-commerce startup. Similarly, you want to invest in a payment startup, right? They could be ones where you are looking for building a technology platform, and you could try to acquire that platform as well. So there are a lot of reasons. We are working at the moment with one of the big industrial conglomerates, and they have taken us as their CVC advisor, and we are helping construct and deploy their fund in agri-tech startups. And they have identified areas around precision agriculture, IoT, big data, fintech and agri-tech, and farm services as well. So there's a lot going on as far as see the corporate thinking about, okay, well, how do I move very fast now? Am I going to do partnerships? Am I going to do acquisitions, or am I going to do investments? And the CVC play here becomes very important. And if the CVC is tightly integrated with the VC, that becomes even more better, because a lot of CVCs are also looking at co-investing with VCs. So if there is a particular opportunity where, for example, the CVC would like to, rather than directly go, would like to co-invest, they could do that as well with the VC. So you can see that this is a virtuous circle. That the echo has come back, but I am about to finish, thankfully. So this is a virtuous circle between the startup, the corporate, the CVC part of the corporate, and the VC, all working together at this point of time in a win-win situation, so that all of us can benefit. So I guess this particular engagement model with these four entities needs to really be strengthened as we go ahead from the during COVID to the post-COVID time. So with that, I like to end my small talk, and again want to thank Venture Catalyst to have given me the opportunity. I'll be there for Q&A later, and if there is any requirement, you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So again, thank you very much, and happy to do any Q&A later. Thank you, Neeraj. Back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Avnish, for sharing your point of view. I would request Rajiv to just invite the other corporate leaders here to quickly share with you one by one their point of view, and if they have something to say on whatever they have heard basically till now.
Sure. So I'll call a few people who I see in currently live in this session. So I'll request all of you to keep it short, maybe around 4 to 5 minutes, and then so that we can get more and more people to participate. So right now I want to call Srinivas. Maybe many people will know about Srinivas. Srinivas was the co-founder of T-Hub, India's largest incubator, the T-Hub in Telangana. He's currently the partner in Hunch Ventures, and he's also the key member of the CII Startup Engagement Forum. So over to you, Srinivas.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. First of all,
put on your video also.
Sorry?
You can put on your video.
It should be on. Do you see it?
Right now, no. Yeah, now I can see. Yeah.
You see it? Okay. So yeah, so I just want to say thank you for having me on here. You know, Venture Catalyst, I've been following them for a long time and very proud of the progress they've made. It's incredible how far they've come. And it kind of highlights what's going on with the ecosystem as well. Also, you know, Incubator Hub, I've been involved with also for a long time, and it's good to see the pivots that you've made. And corporate innovation, I think, is a very interesting space right now. You know, when I started T-Hub, what, 6 years ago now? It's a very different world. There were no big exits. Unicorns were a distant fantasy. And really all the activity for startups was in Bangalore and a little bit in Bombay, Delhi. Today, you know, Venture Catalyst has proven that there are startups throughout the country, and that's pretty amazing, I think. At T-Hub itself, the journey has been interesting because it's kind of led to the conversation we're having today. When I started it, it was about how do you design an ecosystem from scratch? If you think about the ecosystems that existed then, you know, whether it was Silicon Valley in the US or Bangalore in India, they've mostly grown organically. But the idea was, how can you build it in a city from scratch where the ecosystem was together? We focused initially on the you know, just mentorship, early angel funding. Somebody has not muted their microphone again. Anyway.
I have muted them.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, so anyway, initially we focused on very early stage stuff because that was the need of the hour. But India has grown a lot, and so we very quickly pivoted to helping out slightly later stage companies. You know, companies that already had a product, had a few customers, and figured out how do we help them. We had the incubator, which is, you know, today one of the largest in the country. We had international market access programs, but the part that's relevant to this conversation is that we very quickly realized that what startups require to grow are customers. And corporate's a great way to do that as well. Now, you know, when we first started, there was a bit of a hesitation on the corporate side to engage. And so we did fairly basic programs like hackathons, just to get them to dip their toes in the water. Today, that's no longer the case. All corporates are looking at innovation. They're looking beyond their R&D and to external innovation that's happening with startups. You know, and so I think what I wanted to talk about very quickly, because, you know, I don't want to take too much time, I'd rather focus on questions that people may have, is why is corporate innovation a big deal today and what's happened, what's changed? I think there's a couple of things. One is that, as I said, corporates themselves have realized that with the pace of innovation, they can't rely on their internal R&D anymore. They have to start engaging externally to find out what's happening out there, what innovation is going on, maybe not directly with them, but even in adjacent markets. They're also realizing that a lot of their brightest employees have ideas that could become great businesses and add on to the bottom line or top line of their corporate. And so how do you encourage entrepreneurship? Another reason is that you just want to acquire or license technology that will absolutely immediately help. So the fact that today a lot of corporate employees have, not a lot, but there are many of the founders, if you look at them, have come out of a corporate. So they have deep domain knowledge. They understand what the problems that exist are, and they know how to solve those. And they're going deeper tech to solve these problems with deep domain knowledge. One of the things that I found, though, is that corporates themselves, after dealing with, you know, 30 or almost 40 actually now, corporates, both personally as well as through my companies, there's a few pieces of guidance I'd like to give out to corporate innovation people. I think one of the things is you have to be very, very clear about your goals. It is not a one-size-fits-all program. You know, everyone thinks of accelerators initially, but you know, there are multiple reasons that you get into corporate innovation in the first place. One is that you want to change culture internally, especially if you're from a traditional business. Maybe change is not common. And so you want to get your employees thinking about innovation. Another is, like I said, you want to get your ideas from your employees turned into real companies potentially, rather than losing your best employees and then going out and creating startups. The other is just being aware of innovation that exists today and being able to leverage that piece. And of course, licensing and acquiring technology. But one of the ways to get involved with any of these is to invest in technology, as in startups themselves. So the opportunity that VCATS is presenting is really, really interesting. The work that Avnish is doing is really, really interesting. Like I said, advice is be clear about your goals and design programs accordingly. Design your programs and engage according to those. Define your metrics around those things. And of course, align your companies internally to make sure you take advantage of those opportunities. You're going to have to allocate time of your employees, which is not directly adding to the P&L. And so how do you do that piece? How do you get your resources internally, whether it's product managers or design people or whoever, to engage? And how do you get the finance separated out so that the companies that you're engaging with can continue? This is not including the investment piece, of course, I'm talking about. So yeah, I would say ultimately engage. That is step one. If you have not engaged with the startup ecosystem yet as a corporate, please do that as soon as you can. Don't try and do it all internally. Engage with ecosystem players like a T-Hub, like a VCATS for various goals, and engage consistently. Make sure that startups know that they can reach out to you. If you do these things, I think you'll be considered a company that has access to innovation and that people with innovation can reach out to as well. So I'm going to leave it there because I'd much rather hear other people and get to the question and answers. Yep.
Thanks a lot, Srini. Thanks for your perspective. Or wish you also for your role at CII. I hope the traditional companies of CII will also engage with startups.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're definitely hoping that we get a lot more engagement from the Indian corporates as well. It's been mostly the international ones, but we are seeing some leaders in the Indian space as well.
So I see a question from Luana Bosio. I think Luana Bosio is from Kaspersky, I guess from Russia. And her question is, how do you measure innovation in corporate? KPI is hard for management. So how do you measure the success of innovation in corporate? If Avnish or Srinivas, if you want to take this question. Anyone can take this question.
Look, I mean, you're right. It's a very hard thing to measure. It's also a very general question because it depends on the type of innovation that you're talking about. Typically, the way to do it though is to look at, I mean, I'm talking about breaking it down to individual programs that you have. If you do that, it becomes much simpler. So if you're doing an accelerator, for example, the key metric is obviously going to be the growth of those startups within the program. So big baseline at the beginning of the program, you see what their revenue is, what the number of customers are, etc., and you see how much they've grown within those pieces. If it's a program that is based on licensing technology, then obviously it's much simpler. It just becomes how much that technology is used, and you can usually measure revenue impact in certain ways or cost impact. But you know, it really depends on the type of program you're talking about. Avnish, maybe you have another answer?
Yeah. No, I think, Srini, I agree with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I think fair points, and this is an old question which is asked every time. In Accenture, we have a different way of looking at it. We basically look at the incremental revenue which we bring for ourselves and for our startups together. That's the key metric as far as the venture and the open innovation program is concerned. So we don't go into any other thing except for incremental revenue and sales, which the startup and Accenture can build together. But on a different note, I think the problem arises of this word called ROI, and people think ROI is return on investment. Actually, it should be return on insights. And if you look at return on insights and you measure that rather than keep on looking at your financial ROI, I think you might get the right metric. which you are looking or hoping to get?
Rajiv, is at this moment I just want to bring in the startups here, because I think they are the guys who have already done that. I mean, they have really raised up to the expectation of ROI question and measurement of innovation question when once basically they start engaging with the corporate. So we have three gentlemen with us, very young founders, passionate guys. They all worked with the different set of corporates. So we have Saurabh with us, who lead the Flixtree venture. We have Piyush, who is leading the Impact Guru. And we have Nirav, like, who is leading the VPhrase, which is again one of the Accenture success story. So any one of you gentlemen, I mean, can you just put up your perspective, share basically the kind of expectation that corporate had with you once you were onboarding them, and what was the experience like, and what led to one thing to next? Like, for example, I know Saurabh has been working with Samsung for a long as a client and as a corporate innovation success, but that led to a serious investment when they led their round. So Saurabh, would you like to basically share your experience, and then Nirav and Piyush, both of you?
Great, yeah, so thank you. I'll try and see if I can put my video on as well. All right, yes, I'm audible.
Yeah.
So yes, so the first thing is it is important. Yeah, for the first thing, I guess it's important to try and know that who we are. I had actually prepared a very small presentation for the audience to try and appreciate who we are. And from that perspective, making a sense of how we brought value to the table of Samsung and multiple other corporates that we work with might be more relevant. Right, so does it make sense? Can I share a quick presentation,
Yeah.
Neeraj?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Rajiv, can you enable him to share his presentation, a small one?
Do it. Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
I think
So Saurabh, just try this.
Yes, is it visible?
Yeah, this is.
Okay, great. So what I'll do is it's a very short one. So it's important to understand that what we do to try and bring the perspective of what we do. There's a smart story about two of my friends. One of them is John. He's a travel blogger. He blogs and gets about 10,000 visitors per month. John, like most travel bloggers, monetizes his entire website using Google Ads. With the kind of visitors that he has, he does not make more than $100, and hence the effort that he puts in creating content, curating content, writing, and so on and so forth is not well enough for an ROI on the subject, because that's how he can make from Google Ads. Second friend of mine, Kiara, she runs a website. She runs a company like Samsung runs a lot of content. I'm sure a lot of you run a lot of content websites. So Samsung runs a content website. And the problem again with the content website is exactly same. Even if you have great number of visitors coming in this case, I've given an example of 100,000 visitors per day still. If you are monetizing through Google Ads, the kind of money that you make is not more than 25 to 30,000 USD for the kind of number of visitors we are talking about. Salaries, overheads, and falling worldwide ad revenues is not going to help any of the content companies to maximize their revenue, and hence their existence become extremely difficult. All of these content companies require more revenues, and the only way to add more revenues is either increasing traffic or increasing returning users so that their ARPUs can go up. Video content today increases maximum ARPUs. Video content today engages maximum number of people. Users keep returning, and a Google study shows that 60% of worldwide internet today are consumed by videos. If 100 MB of data is getting consumed, 60 MB gets consumed in watching online video content, and this figure is growing up. So John and Kiara know that they need video content if they want to engage their users, but the problem is they're already having falling ad revenues, and see here, having videos on their platform is so expensive. A, there is a cost of creating or licensing content so expensive. B, there's a separate investment that has to go in the technology to stream the content delivery network, and so on and so forth. Will that be worth enough? Will that be ROI enough? B, even if they end up making investment in those spaces, there is a sales team that would be required to pitch this video content to get advertisers, the corporates to try and back their content, which comes another investment. And hence, this just becomes a non-starter for most content companies, be it a blogger, a website, or whoever. What if All content companies get an access to thousands of premium video content for free without investment that their people would love to see. With zero technology investment, they are able to stream videos on their platform, and all the high-paying advertisers come to them to collaborate rather than they try to create a sales team and reach them out. With this vision, we thought that if this sounds impossible, that's where we come into picture. A very simple business model. We create and aggregate thousands of premium video content. So we have a studio and we work with multiple production studio houses, and then we embed our video player. We stream these videos on different websites and apps. So on the left-hand side, you see Samsung My Galaxy app, which is where we today power their content, engage their millions of daily users who come on their platform. Every single day, they consume content that we want to show and collaborate there. This is one app that we have engaged tremendously, and that's where Samsung saw huge value. And all of this we do absolutely at no cost to Samsung, which means it comes to them for free. Now, then how do we make money? Very simple. We work with 650 plus advertisers globally who sponsor our content with branding and multiple performance campaigns. So whatever money we get, 80% we pass it back to Samsung, 80% we pass it back to John, 80% back to Kiara. So rather than they now trying to invest to get content, they are now getting paid to show content, our content, just by embedding to their traffic. In sum, they just copy paste a few lines of codes, and this allows all digital publishers access to all the content, multiple genres, multiple local languages, no investment in content or technology, and they get paid with high CPM branding or high commission performance campaigns. Very simple. Step one, we go create content, acquire distribution rights from creators. We partner with advertisers to sponsor these videos, and these are embedded on multiple different platforms and apps. Video content gets streamed on partner website like Samsung in this case. Whatever money we make, 80% we share back to them. How big was this globally? About 500 million websites and apps who update their content at least once a month. But the most interesting part is only 10% of publishers have made many money online. So in our case today, now we work with Samsung, we work with Xiaomi, we work with about 112 publishers who use our solutions, including the likes of MX Player, Daily Hunt, multiple others who use our content, and we maximize their revenue just by providing an embedded video place, just copy pasting 5-6 lines of codes. Yeah, we have about a couple of product solutions. So that's something that we'll skip about for now, which is fine. Simple advertiser pays, click-free collects and shares a percentage with digital publishers through affiliate commission, brand sponsorships, and video ads. Neeraj, does that sound well enough? Did it answer your question?
So that's fantastic. Just want to summarize this with what was the outcome of this entire engagement for almost a year and a half, and what was the outcome in terms of like how much Samsung basically invested in your company, in case you want to share that with the people for their motivation. Yeah.
Sure. So basically, we worked with Samsung for about a year and a half, made them engage a lot of users with our content, made them engage made them make money. And Samsung invested, we raised total $3 million, out of which Samsung led the round with 1.5 million.
Oh, great. Yeah, so that's what exactly
we
want to...
Other names on the slide, yeah. The other names on the slide, then because Samsung was coming in, they also started rallying back, and yeah, the round was closed very fast.
Yeah, thank you so much, Saurabh. So Dr. Aloknath, who led the currently leading the Samsung Ventures, so he's one of the partner with us. So he's been there with the Bangalore session, and he is there with all the pitches with us. Today, he was supposed to come here in this session also, but there is a personal tragedy at his home site, so that's why he's not there. But I think in future sessions, he will be there with us. He's very actively integrating Samsung Ventures initiative with us. So with that, I want to bring in the second case study quickly for all of us. So Neerav, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen with everyone. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, perfect. So what I'll do is I'll first show you what we do, and then I'll talk about how we're working with other corporate partners and how is the engagement going. So I'm on moneycontrol.com, and on Money Control, I'm on Bharti Airtel's quarterly results page. Now, this is how the data is shown on the page. Now, if I were to ask anyone in this conference to analyze this data and quickly tell me if the company is doing well or not, I think they'll need some time and they'll need to put in some effort to analyze this. As against there, I'll just copy this URL and paste it into a platform and say analyze. What this will do, it will go to that page, fetch the data from there, analyze it, and create a very short summary like what you see on the screen. So this is what our technology does. We built a product, Fraser. It's an AI product that analyzes data, pulls out the insights, and then it communicates those insights using the page. Is there some echo?
Yeah, I muted them.
Okay. Yes, I was just saying that the technology that we created, we call it Fraser. It analyzes data, pulls out the insights, and then it communicates those insights in a short narrative like you see over here. So we use this technology to help enterprises make the reports easier to understand for their people as well as their customers. So I'll show you a sample report. So this is one such sample report for a FMCG company where we're talking about beverages market share. So rather than just have charts over here or tables over here, there are insights which are called out, which are written automatically. So what we do is we use language to provide context and reasoning to data. And we work with a lot of enterprises across different industries. Yeah. So we work with banks, financial services companies. So we work with pharma companies, FMCG companies, media companies. So in terms of the question which was asked, I guess we work with Accenture. Accenture has been introducing us to other corporate clients. They're helping us with the GTM. Avnish is a very good friend, and we've been working with Accenture for a few years now. Besides, we've also worked with Incubate Hub. So Incubate Hub has also taken us to a couple of corporate partners, and we've been able to get POCs through them. We've been able to get paid engagements through them as well. So typically for us, these partnerships have worked really well. For the technology that we've built has utility for large companies, for large enterprises, and working with partners like Accenture, working with partners like Incubate Hub, it helps us get a foot in the door with these enterprises, helps us demo our technology, and then if the enterprises, the prospects see value in our technology, obviously they move ahead and sign us up for use of our technology. So this kind of model has worked really well with us, for us. Right from the days we got our first investment from venture catalyst till this date, we've been working with partners, and it has helped us in our go-to market. Does that answer your question?
That's a great story that you just shared with us, Neerav. I want to basically just quickly go to Piyush also, and then we take up questions on these possibilities. So Piyush, are you ready with your presentation?
Yes. Yes. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, please. See, Rajiv, you need to enable him. Yeah, thank you.
Is this visible? Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Piyush. I'm the co-founder and CEO of ImpactGuru.com. What we do is we help fund hospital bills, particularly of middle-class customers who are unable to pay them. And many of you are working at very, very large corporates who might even be providing insurance to their employees. But as many of you might know, the average health insurance in India is 5 lakh rupees. But the cost of critical illnesses, particularly cancer, transplants, ICU, accidents, is very, very high. And even right now for COVID-19, if somebody goes into a long-term stay of 14 days and multi-organ failure, actually the cost would be very, very high. So what we do is we actually help crowd fund through our technology platform to raise money for all of these patients. And our company was actually Incubator Hub. I think the best way to demonstrate how we have created huge number of strategic partnerships is to take the example of Apollo Hospitals, which is India's #1 hospital chain and healthcare company. And actually, it was only because of Venture Catalyst that they actually decided to invest in our company. And with them, we've created such an amazing partnership that over the last, I would say, 2 years, we've actually helped about 1,000 patients at Apollo Hospitals raise more than 15 crore rupees for various illnesses. Let me give you a quick demo of how this actually works. Are you able to see the screen of the patient with Amit Shenoy? Is this visible?
Yes.
Great. So with Apollo, what happened was because of their investment and strategic partnership, we were able to directly source patients who needed funding without having to sort of do a lot of expensive amount of marketing and doing partnership with NGOs. All of these customers were there at the hospital itself, and the hospital would directly refer to them to us. And so in this particular case, which was a case from October 2018, about 6 months' time after Apollo's investment, we were able to raise 45 lakh rupees from about 500 donors in this case. And so typically, for every customer, there are photographs, there is a story on exactly what happened, and then there are also medical documents which we directly procure from the hospital. So leveraging this partnership, Impact Guru started to do very similar partnership with all of the other large corporate hospital chains. And recently with COVID-19, Impact Guru is now running various cause marketing campaigns with various startups. So Big Basket, Grofers, Farmeasy, NetMeds, Swiggy, with many of these, depending on their underlying cause, we are actually fundraising for them. So here's an example of a co-branded page with Big Basket. And so because they're a grocery company, they are providing engagement to their customers by sharing within their app a link for people to donate so that they can provide groceries to people who cannot even afford to do that. And recently, another successful partnership Impact Guru has created is that with the Action COVID-19 team, the ACT grants, which is the 100 crore grant created by the entire VC and startup community. They really want to raise money for funding the PPE kits for doctors and healthcare workers, because if one doctor goes down, you're adding to the victims while subtracting from the defenders. And so they have provided a 20% matching grant on every single piece of money that we raise on our platform. This campaign was started very recently. And in case many of the corporates here would like to collaborate with us, where we can create similar co-branded pages, depending on whatever cause it is that they are passionate about, we can create some fantastic outcomes by engaging their employees digitally as well as their own customers to participate. And so every single person who donates, their name is visible and the amount is visible. And we've run similar campaigns with Tata Sons, with various other, I would say, companies already, and we are planning to scale this now going forward. So I think I'll pause there. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much, Piyush. So, gentlemen, these were some of the opportunities that we bring on table. So these are some case studies that are already proven success stories where corporate as a entity and startup as a possibility, I mean, they join hands and collectively we were able to create some kind of impact in various business domains. And there are like 100 such opportunities within our portfolio right now. So so this is basically the outcome that we are talking about. These are the kind of like success story that we can create more and more now with this deeper engagement that Avnish is mentioning, and so was Srini. So I just want to, I mean, open the round once again back to all the participants. Now that we have seen some of the like ways how you can collaborate with these guys, you can run your campaigns, you can partner with them, you can increase your ROI, you can cut down on your budget thing. So Rajiv, if you want to include some of the corporate leaders here who can talk about the various models that they can either like work with one of these companies or say many other that we have in our fold.
Sure.
Can any of the attendees also ask questions, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll love to take questions. It's now open for questions. Any questions for the startups? Any questions for us as collaboration partners? We'll love to take right now.
So can I put a question across my name or later?
Sure, right now you can put a question.
Okay, my name is Girish, and I just have it's a fantastic, interesting ecosystem that I went through. And my question is as follows. One is, if in case there is an interesting, innovative, organic, a tea brand that wants to kind of get in touch, which has an existing range of bespoke blends, which are all organic and all Swiss IMO certified. How does one get in touch with either Dr. Purva or Neeraj as a process for a startup to engage with you? And my second question is, if there is a potential portfolio of incubating firms that are already in conversation in trying to scale up and build capital, would this ecosystem also be open to collaborate with them and explore if there are opportunities for them to get angel investors or other investments in their portfolio, which could be either a corporate partnership or it could be individual capital raising opportunities?
So to me, frankly, because the first question was for me and Dr. Purva, I'm always available on the WhatsApp, gentlemen. So you guys can pick up the number from Rajiv, and in case you have any interesting opportunity, we will be happy to revert you very quickly. We screen around 700 startups every month, and around 50 to 50%, normally we have interactions also. So we have a super active team. So just in case I am not there, Rajesh is one of the key person in our team, and Neeraj is of course there. So you guys can reach out. And as far as your collaboration with your incubator is concerned, that is also very much open. Right now we have collaboration with so many others. So Neeraj, would you like to add something here? Rajiv, would like to add something here?
Yeah, so just want to mention that Incubate Hub itself has a very unique program for all the startups. So it is not only for venture catalyst portfolio companies, but open for everyone. So if you have a concept that you want to come and pitch to us, so the first point could be either Incubate Hub or the VCATS team. You can reach out to either one of us, and we can take a very collective look at the opportunities.
Any further questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, Umesh here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Umesh. We can hear you.
Okay. So my question is, post this COVID-19 scenario, maybe somewhere when the things will get settled down, would it be wiser to invest in any healthcare the startup, particularly who are working on the ventilators or the mask or something like that? Should we do some tie-up with them? What's your suggestion?
So Umesh, if you can introduce yourself, it will be great to understand.
Yeah, myself, I'm Umesh Kar. I'm from Tech Mahindra, and I'm looking after the Startup Connect, part of for my R&D center.
Great. So I think we have a question from Umesh, and maybe Umesh was asking from a personal investment perspective. Are you asking from a personal investment or from corporate?
No, from corporate.
Okay, from a corporate side. So, so Neeraj, you want to take the question?
Yeah. So definitely we are looking at a lot of healthcare solutions right now, including this ventilator as a machine, and there are a lot of software and services which are built on top of that, because there is a lot of data integration issues also related to this problem. So we already have one very interesting medical equipment company that we pitched and we showcased in last corporate pitching session last Saturday itself. So definitely we would like to take that opportunity to you also at Tech Mahindra, and you can evaluate that one-to-one. So it's very interesting. It's very close to the COVID problem which is happening right now. So, and there is a lot of demand and they're making a lot of impact both on government side of the initiatives that government is trying to do, and also with the hospitals. So they are already have installation in all the aims right now. So interesting opportunity. We'll definitely get back to you on this one-to-one.
Sure, definitely. Thanks, Neeraj.
And also, if Avnish wants to add something, because he was also already talking about few of the collaborations that Avnish was doing. So, Avnish, you want to mention anything here?
No, I think as we go ahead, we can evaluate such opportunities. I'm sure there will be many such opportunities, but you need to look at it with a finer lens. So happy to help in whatever way we can.
Oh, great. Thanks. Okay. Any further questions that you have? So going forward, once
Rajiv, I think if you can just quickly at this point just mention the various ways of what are the takeaways from this session and the last session, and how we have already moved on into action items. Yeah. So if you can talk about those things, yeah.
Perfect. So I'll just quickly summarize.
One quick point. Even introductions of the people who have joined, I think that will help, because in the Bangalore summit, we were able to meet them one-on-one and also had a lot of discussions one-on-one and face-to-face. Right now, it will be good if we have introductions of others who are participating here.
Great. So I can see those who have come live till now, and we had 60 participants. Now it's like 229. So I will maybe quickly summarize because I can see the screen. So I'll just go from the top. And all of you, once the session is over, you can connect with all of them. You can see, you'll be able to see the screen in attendee screen, and you can connect with them in LinkedIn, or you can even schedule a meeting with them through this platform. So those whom I am able to see is Navnath from Vodafone, who had joined the session. Then I can see Aditya Oak from Tata Motors, who had joined the session. I can see Amit Kurhekar. He was previously with PNG. I think right now I have forgot Amit. Maybe you can.
With Yardley. I'm with Yardley.
Okay, with Yardley. So Amit is with Yardley. He was with PNG in Hyderabad. Now I think in Yardley in Bangalore. And we had Jayant Awasthi, who actually heads the investment arm of ITC. So engaging with startups, and I think he's based out of Kolkata. So I'm not sure. Jayant, I think, is not there in the session right now. I guess if he's there, then we'll love to hear. So we had Akash Sureka, who is a prominent angel investor. He was also there from Pune. I'm just mentioning few of them whom I pretty much know. So we had Krishnakat Sinojia from Crompton Greaves from Mumbai. Crompton Greaves, he heads the corporate innovation. We had Luana from Kaspersky, interestingly joining from Moscow, and he heads open innovation for Kaspersky in Moscow. Then we had Grisha, who spoke. We had Navyuk. Navyuk runs a lot of program. He runs QGlue. I'm not sure if he's still there. He runs a lot of design thinking and innovation programs for corporates. Then we had Pankaj Juja, who heads innovation for Tata Motors. And so I'm just talking about those from the corporate side. We had Anup Kiran, who heads innovation from Starlight. We also had Debashish Goswami from Robert Bosch, who heads open innovation from Robert Bosch. So it's a quick summary. Umesh, who just spoke from Tech Mahindra. So this is just a quick summary of people. There were total 53 people who had joined, which I can see. And it was great to have all of them, and we will connect with them separately. But just to summarize, so the action items, what we can do from here. So during the last session, we had created a WhatsApp group called Corporate CXO Angel. We'll invite you if you want to join those that WhatsApp group, Corporate CXO Angel group. where we discuss about various opportunities which are there from a startup evaluation perspective. We also discuss about other topics around the best practices of engaging with startups. So we'll invite you to the group if you want to join. That's one. Second, we'll love to engage with you, understand what kind of areas you are working on, which kind of domain, which kind of use cases you're working on. So as I showed to you that in this platform itself, you can come and post your use cases where you're looking at startups to engage, and we will shortlist the startups, and we will do one startup showcase every month of curated startup based on the use cases that you have provided, based on corporate use cases. So that is the second point. The third point, Neeraj and me and Uday will engage with you to talk more about the 9 Unicorn Fund opportunity, as well as the corporate CXO angel investment opportunity which is there. So we'll have separate one-on-one calls with you. So that's a quick summary. And once the COVID situation we get out of the COVID situation, at least like Avnish said, from the current COVID situation, once we get out, we'll love to meet in person. We'd love to do sessions in person, in Mumbai, in Pune, in Delhi, and engage with you on a one-on-one basis. That's all from my side, Neeraj.
Yeah, so just want to add here, we are also organizing, following up this open discussion, a startup showcase session where we showcase the opportunity of that month, where we are funding those startups. And in case you want to see and evaluate them both from business perspective, business partnership perspective, and investment perspective. So the next session is happening on 4th of May tentatively. We will share the email say update to all of you about that. But that's one activity that we are parallelly running with this. And the last that showcase we have done, I think we already got very good response of that. We showcased 4 opportunities to the corporates, and all 4 startups have got very good response, and they're already been introduced to various business teams within the corporate. So Accenture, KPMG, Samsung Ventures, Diageo, all of them have shown interest. TAP was there. So I think these guys, the participation which is coming from corporate is on a very high say engagement that we are already witnessing, and I think we want to add you there, and we want to give you and offer you the equal opportunity to participate and evaluate these guys. Lastly, the 3 showcase startups that we have shared here, and we kind of introduce them here. So we will make a short note of what opportunities they are offering, and we'll send to all, say 55 of you, so that, I mean, you can see in case you want to go one-to-one with these guys. Yeah, thank you. Dr. Pur, you want to have the closing remark, and Avnish?
I think, Neeraj, because all of us, around 60 people there on this call, one thing which I want to, rather it's more an invitation to all of them to collaboratively develop companies with us, because most of the investments which we are making, we have many corporate partners, and whether sometimes they are, coming more as a company. Like, for example, the last company which we developed, which was a robot to clean solar panels, we had partners, auto component manufacturers, helping them. So there's a lot of collaborative startup development opportunities with Venture Catalyst, where you can co-invest as a corporate as well as individual capacity, and take the startup ecosystem to the next level. So this is an invitation to collaborate with us while invest collaboratively investing, and also be part of 9 Unicorn Fund. Thank you. So that's my
I think I don't have much to say, except that I think this is a great opportunity and a platform for all of us to come together. And again, as I said, we need to respect our past but reinvent the future together. So this is a great opportunity, and I'm glad that Venture Catalyst and Incubator Hub have taken this initiative. So wishing you the best, and happy to be one of the contributors. Thank you.
Hey, Amit here. Before we leave, I had just one question which might be of interest to everyone. Is it okay if I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Raju, first of all, thanks for including me. Great session. Really happy to be a part. Now, so the question is basically we've discussed few areas of interest, especially from startup point of view and from venture capital point of view, and basically on corporate side. Now, one area which I'm curious to understand if any of the companies are looking forward, and that's one area which I think there could be tremendous value to unlock. See, most of the corporates, they develop some in-house capability which goes on in development for few quarters or even in years, and that's a capability which is customized to a particular business. um, as a group, has anybody thought about monetizing those internal capabilities? So for example, some capability in AI, machine learning, developed and applied. So I work for Yodlee. We actually do data enrichment for financial data, so retail data or wealth data. We do financial data enrichment. Now, from that point of view, the way to put these questions in simple words, how are the companies thinking about, or corporates thinking about, monetizing that data or monetizing that capability which has been developed? And could there be a way in which we could collaborate with that regards?
Good question, Amit. So maybe this question is something I'm not sure if Avnish wants to take this question or anybody, about internal IPs that corporates are creating. If that is the question, and how do we take it to market?
I think
So I think the internal IPs which are being created by corporates is pretty much under the firewall of the corporate, and they are trying to monetize it, but it does not have external linkages as far as what I understand. These are being used either to enable a sale or to drive efficiencies in one of the solutions which they are implementing. So as far as Accenture is concerned, we like to keep our internal IP, which we have developed, and a lot of that IP sometimes actually gets developed or co-developed with startups. That is not something which is well known. While Accenture or any company might claim that this is their internal IP and developed in their R&D labs, even in our R&D labs we have startups which help. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel and keep on developing everything from scratch. But those kind of technologies and IPs which get created in the internal, either in an R&D setup or in a solution COE setup, is then directly taken to the market by the corporate. That is my understanding.
Can I make a comment here? This is Bharti Maan from SAP.
Yeah,
please go on.
Yeah, so there is one more aspect around the intellectual property that is created. If this intellectual property is really worth pursuing, we take it to our clients and we try to do a market testing and validation. That is when we really figure it out if this technology is replicable at more than one client. Whatever intellectual property we have created for one client, or for one requirement, we try to test the water. If we find that there is a traction in the market, then we try to co-develop it as an accelerator or as a new module on the product and solution offerings. Otherwise, if we feel that the market test is negative, there is no traction, then however excellent an idea could be, we just say that okay, it's not worth pursuing. And there are hundreds of such ideas which emerge every year, in at least in SAP labs, I can tell you, because I'm personally engaged with that. But out of that, we only select like the top 10 which have shown a potential for monetization. That is our criteria usually. Or if there is something which is worthy thing for a social cause or something. Otherwise, we feel that it's not worth pursuing, and however excellent it may be.
I think your question, Amit's question was If you see Bharti's comment also, you know, only the top 10% are getting utilized. Here is my suggestion, and rather the reason why Amit questions become very important is that, you know, those innovations which are internal innovations developed by great professionals within a company like SAP, you know, they sometimes, if they see a light of external investors, people who are, you know, investing day and night into the startups, sometimes, you know, those ideas can become a great commercially viable ideas, provided they are open for that. Because external innovation, you know, internal innovations, if they see a light of, you know, the external investors, the evaluation criteria changes. And sometimes what happens, the same concept which they do not find useful, you know, they become very useful. And, you know, so otherwise what happens, the efforts made by these internal teams goes for the waste. So my suggestion will be, if there is something like, you know, Rajiv, you should definitely look at it. If those innovations can be somehow be shown to the investors network, I think that's really going to help.
Yeah,
in fact,
good point.
Great point. In fact, I have few examples wherein, like, I was working with Procter and Gamble earlier. P&G partner with external ecosystem to commercialize some of the innovations. In the same way, there is a lot of potential in big corporates, wherein, like, the capability which is developed, it could be probably commercialized in a non-compete way, wherein it doesn't take away the competitive advantage, but at the same time there could be cross-industry fertilization of those ideas. That's the reason why I asked this question. But thank you very much for your insights. I
Yeah,
really
because
appreciate
like
that.
the way we are showing the startups and concept where we are investing to the corporates for their feedbacks, I think if the corporates also start showing the investors the innovation which they are doing, ultimately those viable ideas will either be acquired by them, or maybe if they become a you know, useful enough to, you know, even acquired by them, you know, it can benefit both the communities.
So, Neeraj this side, Dr. Poor, I think in this particular case, which Amit is mentioning, because they are dealing with financial data analysis. So I think VPhrase itself is a very big use case. I think both of them can interact and can see how they can collaborate. If they can basically do some kind of like monetization of their activity, or in case VPhrase itself can become that carrier of their innovation outside, and they want to invest in them. So I think they can figure out a synergy between two of them. So if you can introduce Neerav to Amit, I think that will be a good way.
Yeah, 100%. I think we will be happy to do that. Great.
Great. So I think, Amit, maybe I will just add few things, what we see happening from incubator perspective. So one, we see that we work with companies like Yodlee. We have worked with UPI, Cadence, and various other platform companies, where when they have opened up their solution to the outside ecosystem, the startups have built solution on top of it. So so those IPs, the startups have co-created solutions and taken to markets. From a Yodlee perspective, you have had a lot of adoption of your platform. So Yodlee could open up their APIs and the adoption could happen. That is one thing that we have seen happening from a co-creation perspective when a lot of these platforms have opened up their API. The second thing that we have seen, it's a very good, very unique thing. I know about a team. They were from Nokia and they had created some IP. Now inside Nokia, that IP was not taken forward. So they bought that IP back, and the team came out of Nokia and they started this company. I know many of you might know the company VideoCane. So VideoCane is actually an IP built inside the company, but because the company didn't find it commercially viable, it was not commercially at their level viable. They gave that IP back and they came out and started a startup and created a solution. So that also has we have seen happening. The other thing that we have seen happening with Mercedes-Benz, and I'm giving some names because it is not confidential, that some of the time that they cannot do it internally, so they have spawned out another unit which incubates companies separately. So they will incubate some of the ideas which are internally IPs that are generated as separate companies where they might have a minority stake. So these are also certain models which we have seen from Incubator Hub that the corporates have been working on. If I could have answered your question.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Raju.
Okay. So
I think Rajiv, we should. I would like to thank Avnish also because great insight he brings to the table. Thank you, Avnish bhai, for bringing great insights.
I think.
Thank you very much, Dr. Purva. My pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for giving the opportunity.
Neeraj, maybe a vote of thanks to all the speakers and the participants. And then we will conclude the session.
I would like to thank all of you. I can do that part on behalf of Neeraj. I would like to thank all of you guys for actively participating in this discussion today. This is just a webinar where we interacted, but we'll soon host more such events when the lockdown is over, where we can meet face to face as well. But you can keep participating in the monthly showcase which are happening with the CXOs group, and you can join that community, help us build great companies together. Thank you very much, and thanks a lot, Avnish, once again for joining this. And thank you to Shirni also. I think after long we interacting now, for sharing his experience, how he set up this into follow corporate innovation practices. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.